everyone. Hi Void. Hi Zoe. Hi Lucas. It is indeed time for totally normal children activity. This is Bryony Rose Smith live from the Forbidden Library, and today we're going to be reading more Higurashi. Now it's been a hot minute. Hello, Jabba Hop. Welcome. So let's unchase. Hello. Let's see if we can recap somewhat. Keiji was in full paranoia mode after getting a needle in his mochi that he got from Rena. And basically, I think he's like misinterpreting everything in a way, and sometimes he's not. I don't even know. Either way, he remembered that there's a bat in school. He's going to go get this bat in school so he can have it for self-defense in case they want to murder him. Yay! Because that makes sense. Let's load. See where we're at. A car horn blared out of nowhere. Even though I was walking, lost in thought, that horn was way too close. It actually was a hot second, wasn't it? Those memories from which Bryony are kind of foggy. They're okay. I mostly remember what was happening. Because I was there. Just not in my usual form. So it's not like I wasn't there. I was just a widow spoopy ghost the entire time. A mechanical behemoth barreled at me from behind, catching me completely off guard. By the time I turned around, the van's hulking chassis was almost on top of me. Puddle Bryony remembers exactly, yes, correct. I'd seen plenty of cars veer to the opposite shoulder to avoid pedestrians, but this car was doing the opposite. It felt like there was somebody on the opposite shoulder, and the van was swerving in my direction to avoid them. And that blissfully ignorant train of thought delayed me from realizing something much, much more important. The large mass was hurtling right at me. Was it going to hit me? The inside of my head instantly flooded with painfully cold liquid. In that moment, the scene before me, no. Time itself had frozen. The isekai van was after me, and I did not want to be isekai'd. In the silence of that frozen moment, I compared the van so close that I had no way to dodge it, and my body, the upper half twisted awkwardly in order to look behind me. Zawel, indeed. There was no way I could dive out of the way in my current position. If I lost focus now, this moment would unpause, and I would probably be ploughed over and caught in this silly pose. Bend my upper body towards the paddy by the side of the road. If I bent far enough away, I'd just be hit by the side mirror. As soon as the thought crossed my mind, the temporal stasis was shattered by the deafening sound of the van. Brrr. I guess that's two Bryony memes in the same month, which Bryony can defeat the Justice League in a single. And Puddle Bryony, yes. Bryony of the Puddle, what is your wisdom? Don't trust witches. The side mirror struck my shoulder, sending me spinning off through the air like a top, locked in my contorted motion. Kasplash! Sent tumbling through the air, I crashed into the muddy paddy by the side of the road. My entire body was soiled and drenched. But the choice I'd made in that instant was, unmistakably, for the best. I was covered in mud, but when the alternative was being hit by a car, it was the closest I could be from being unscathed. Rising out from the paddy, I had enough in me to glare over at the top of the van and yell profanities at the driver, as he should. Hey Bryony, I got a joke suggestion. Can you make an angel Bryony and make the devil costume and the angel brownie part of your subconscious good. I mean, that's a thing I could do, but it's a lot of work, and I just want to be myself for a while, okay, boys? I know the alter ego was exciting, but I've only been back for like 3 streams. Please just enjoy me and my content. I'm not sure if he was able to see me, but the van sped off suddenly. Oh, we got voices! I didn't want voices. I don't want voices. I don't want voices. Voice volume down. That'll do. Wait! Damn it! Because it's spooky month. You need a costume for spooky month. But that's the only reason. This was the costume I wore last year. And since I don't have a witch hat and a cloak anymore, then I just put this costume back on again. No, we gotta have more boss variants. We gotta spread them out. Otherwise there'll be too many. And I'll have multiple personalities. This was what they call a hit and run, wasn't it? I couldn't help but continue yelling out profanities. The disgrace from being covered in mud hurt me more than any physical wounds. Hello, Sirapupu, welcome. I slogged through the muddy paddy and made my way back to the road. We need fish brain that pays in human sacrifices. Maybe when we have a village well put together in Minecraft, we could do that because then I could just kill the villagers. This is a crime, god damn it! Shit. I'll track you down and sue you, bitch. What is this, America? If I go looking for a van, I'm sure I'll find it in this little village. The path I was on had rice paddies on either side, and it became so narrow that one car could barely fit through. Yeah, Syrup Poo Poo. Syrup wanted me to make sure that I said the other P, so it's Syrup Poo Poo. Yeah. I would follow the van till they parked somewhere get French. Yeah. It wasn't a place you could tear full speed down in a car, let alone past pedestrians. Not only was it a narrow road, but the car just now was closer to my side of the road than the other when it went past me. Even as I cursed, I was desperately trying to suppress the dark cloud roiling up within me. This wasn't just a hit and run. That car just now was trying to run me over, wasn't it? Thinking back, I did feel like there had been a car creeping up on me slowly for a while. That's right. As soon as I parted ways with that person, taking a walk, I had that feeling the whole time. If it had wanted to pass me, it had no shortage of chances. Normally I would have felt suspicious and turned around sooner, but I was lost in thought. And I was kicking myself for not realizing it sooner. And then, when the path became narrow and there was no one else in sight, he floored it. If I'd hesitated for even a moment, the result would have been no laughing matter. As the adrenaline rush from nearly being run over subsided, and the realization of just how terrifying the preceding events were sunk in, there was no doubt. That van was intentionally trying to hit me. So, Bryony, if you have Moon Girl merch, why don't you sell Trisha bags? I don't know. Because they weren't easy to make. And why would Trish ever use a bag? She has a Vincent for that. cold, vicious sweat seeped from my palm and slid down my back before dribbling off. I struggled to avoid falling into panic. There was still the possibility that this was really just an accident. Calm down, Keiji. But also don't be naive, Keiichi. Being that lax will get you killed next time. Oh, Trish trash. I didn't get it. Apologies. This whole thing, no, it doesn't end with Keiji being run over by a van. It ends with Keiji being isekai'd by being run over by a van. And ending up in some other horrific universe. You need to always be on your toes. Don't give them any openings. If my enemy was really out to kill me, then next time they would use a more reliable method. And if that time came, and I was acting like I was now, getting covered in mud was the price to pay for my own naivete. Van-kun could be Truck-kun's, nephew or something. He tried and he didn't quite get it. Covered in mud, but without injury. Not even a sprain. I guess this was what you would call a silver lining. I began walking again, this time cautiously. I wouldn't even show a hint of carelessness. I had suspected only Renner and the others up until now. No. It was because I had suspected them that I had believed there was no other enemies. Oshi-san said so, didn't he? There was the possibility of a village conspiracy. Higurashi, that time I got transported to another world because my perverted and murderous classmates ran me over with a van. Correct. Was I really mired so deeply in this situation that I had no choice but to try and carry on as usual? Wouldn't it be safest just to hole myself up in my house? But the moment I abandoned my regular routine, everyone around me would abandon theirs as well. That was just too horrifying of a thought. I recalled the tales Oshi-san told me of when Hinamizawa still called Onigafuchi, a frightening tale of an entire village of demons hunting their prey, surrounding them and eating them alive. One must not interfere with the demons. One must pretend not to see it. The enemy were numerous, the whole village. The village, with their unwavering faith in the curse, would do nothing to help me. The strong, sudden flash of sunshine made me slightly dizzy. I had no idea what was going on anymore. I suspected it was the work of man. When I suspected it was the work of man, I would catch a glimpse of Oyashiro-sama's curse. And when I suspected it was Oyashiro-sama's curse, someone would poke their head out. What a coincidence. Was that a coincidence? Was it intentional? Who was my enemy? Who was just a bystander? No, what I really, truly wanted to know. How did I end up with the proverbial bullseye painted on my back? Eventually, an answer in a form I could understand will appear. I don't care when that will happen. Because, until then, I cannot die. I did change where my camera was recently. And I don't think it's as good a position. So that could be part of the twitching. I changed it because of the hand cam yesterday. But I suppose I could put it back if it makes my twitching go away. Moon Girl and Higurashi. I don't know how that would work, honestly. Because she'd do fine. They'd have a really hard job at killing her in general. Let's have a move on me camera then. No twitching, this is YouTube. Correct. Right, come here, camera. We're moving you. There's going to be a lot of twitching now. It's going to be very confused now. There we go. There we go. Hello. Movement. Blanket on my legs. I forgot to turn the heating off. Oh well. He's gonna have to get a skill now. Did he actually get the bat? I can't remember if we actually got to the point where he got the bat. I think he's just... yeah, he's going in early to get the bat. That's where we're up to. I remembered seeing the metal bat in the gym's storage shed, but there was a padlock on the door barring my entry. At the very least, I wanted to get my hands on it before everyone else arrived at school. I circled around the school grounds impatiently. But all I could find were things like pieces of lumber, nothing that I could bring into the classroom easily. Aluminium bat. Or as I suppose the Americans would say, aluminum bat. Then I had an epiphany. I should search inside the classroom. Really? If it was something in the classroom to begin with, then there wouldn't be a problem. I could tell that everyone's indoor shoes were still in their lockers. Good thing I came early, nobody else was here yet. The point of the bat is that he can run around with it without being too suspicious. I think putting barbs on it would kind of make it more suspicious. Imagine if it's all misunderstanding. Keiji kills one of his best friends out of pure paranoia. Imagine that! I wonder what I could find in the classroom. I didn't think I could find an especially effective weapon like a bat. But it couldn't be helped at this point. Until the gym storage shed was open, I needed to find a substitute. A lingering hint of naivete whispered that there was no way I'd be attacked in the school. But such soft ideas would no longer protect me. To think that they were slowly making their way into parts of my life that I had thought were impregnable. In the worst case, my own house might not be safe anymore. Paranoia. Here we go again. My, KG, you need therapy. That was an incredibly frightening thought. But I believed that not considering the worst case scenario would have been even more frightening. Anyways, I will survive! Oh! So long as I lived, then I will definitely be able to escape this labyrinth of nonsense. Definitely. Maybe. I hope so. My exploration of the classroom came to an impasse. That much was to be expected. There was no way there would be anything I could use as a weapon in the classroom. In case of emergency, there was probably nothing I could do but swing my own chair around. My gaze landed on the lockers that had come to be for personal storage. The lockers that Mion used to store her pile of games was among them. There was one for each person in class, all lined up. Of course, there was one for me as well. Oh yeah, there was supposed to still be a tracksuit in my locker. Seeing me covered in mud would be strange. I should go change later. But first, I needed a weapon! If one of my classmates came, it would be hard to rummage through all the lockers. I swiftly began opening the lockers one by one. They were mostly filled with things like gym clothes, personal items, and umbrellas. An umbrella. If I couldn't find anything better, then this would have to be my weapon. I was about to give up on finding anything decent when I opened a locker that held exactly what I wanted. It was, without a doubt, a metal bat. It was well worn and pretty beaten up, but there was no doubt it was usable. In that locker that reeked of mold, there also hung a baseball uniform. It was probably the locker of a student in Pee Wee League or something like that. If that's the case, he probably asked for it back. At the time, I could hear the voices of the children scuffling their way noisily in the hallway. But whose locker is it? Who knows? Hey, Bryony, would a Higurashi Christmas special be funny with Satoko trapping her house and That would be lovely if we could have Home Alone but with Satoko. Problem is I don't think it would be family friendly because I don't think those bandits would get out alive. They would be dead. Satoko has no mercy. Among them, I could make out Rika-chan and Satoko. Good morning. My, you're quite early this morning, Keiji-san. I nonchalantly hid the bat I was holding behind my back. What's with your outfit? You're covered in mud. Yeah, I had a little incident. I'm going to change now, so cut me some slack. With that said, I began taking off my clothes. Satoko began to blush, as I expected her to. Changing in front of a lady? Have you no tact at all? I would think that a lady staring at someone who is changing would be the one lacking tact. There's no changing room for the boys, so just deal with it. Satoko feigned disgust. She went into the hall, still blushing. Conversely, that is a different name completely. Rika-chan continued to stare at me, preparing to change. If Rika-chan is a lady as well, then don't you think it would be... Then I don't think it would be appropriate for you to be watching. Satoko has always sounded like that. What are you on about? Literally has always sounded like that. Satoko has always sounded like that. It's all just blurred together now. I'm not a lady, so it's fine. She deliberately pouted and looked at me with upturned eyes. Then, starting now, you're a lady. What do you mean you're not a lady? If I'm a lady, then I suppose I must. Rika-chan, appearing to be satisfied with being considered a lady, made her way to join Satoko in the hallway. I just breathed a sigh of relief. Rika-chan stopped suddenly and turned back towards me. Are you going to start playing baseball? It seems that Rika-chan had noticed the bat. Yeah, just, you know. I was feeling a bit out of shape, so I thought I'd just try practicing my swing. I think it's wonderful that you're taking care of your health. She was talking like an old lady, despite her appearance. After saying that, Rika-chan started to leave again, but stopped and looked back once more. Please don't lose that bat. It seems she already knew that I took it out of someone's locker. There was no name on the locker door. I didn't know whose bat it was, but I would be borrowing it until they complained. It wouldn't be for long, just until the gym storage shed was opened. After quickly changing into the tracksuit, I checked the time. I still had plenty of time before class began because I came so early. I took the bat in one hand and went out into the schoolyard. That was, of course, to practice my swing. prediction. It's her bat, maybe. I needed to make it known that I would always have a bat on me, so I could practice my swing. At some point, the sunlight had become even stronger. Disregarding my classmates as they made their way to school, I took my position in the shadow of the school building. I wasn't the academic type, and I wasn't much of an athlete either. I might get muscle pain if I suddenly started swinging. I should at least start out with some warm-ups. I doubt anyone would think I was doing something out of the ordinary. Hello, Subject Delta Bioshock 2, welcome. Which was the exact opposite of my actual mental state. I gripped the bat and swung lightly. The bat was by no means light. The weight would make a reliable weapon when it needed to be. Of course, I could only pray that the moment I needed to use this as a weapon would never come. I have no idea what you're on about. Are those the other chapters? Then no, I haven't started them yet. I actually only own this chapter. So I'd need to track down the others if we were going to read the others, but I might take like a break between them. Because obviously I've said before, I have a lot I want to stream. And not enough time to stream. So Higurashi will have to take a back seat for a little while once we finish Onikagushi. Just carrying it round could deter attacks against me. At least that's what I hoped. Swing. Huh? Kei-chan? What are you doing? Being bombarded with such a hysterical voice, I jumped. Whoa, Keiji-kun! Are you on the baseball team? Baseball team? It was Rena and Mion. I was surprised to hear you went off ahead. What are you doing, Kei-chan? Omega Gucci. Oniguchi. It's a fashion. A fashion for the Oni. Onikaguchi. Omega Gucci. I like that. It's chapter 1, Omega Gucci. Can't you tell by looking? I'm practicing my swing for the championship. Can't say it's part of my diet. Can say it's part of my diet if you want. Diet? Kei-chan, are you really that fat? Bet you didn't know. I actually have a beer belly. It's plump and jiggles. Plump and jiggles? Rena, you don't have to imagine something weird like that. To disrupt Rena from imagining something vulgar, I ruffled her hair messily. Well then, hope you make it to regionals at least. This old man will cheer you on. Regionally speaking, it seems that Oshima High School is pretty strong. They say that Southpaw Kameda-kun is amazing. Good luck. Seems they've already taken me for a baseball nut. And oh well. Those are 2020's Higurashi anime. Oh, yes, I have watched those. I watched... It's actually too violent to stream. Yeah, I wouldn't want to stream the actual anime. Bet Keiji goes to that place called Macy's. I have watched more Higurashi. Like, I've watched... How do I say how much Higurashi I've watched without spoiling Higurashi? I have seen multiple routes and how they were weaved together, and the route where they win. Should we say that much? I can say that much. I think that's pretty vague. And then there was the bit where the person died and went back again, and I stopped there. That's where I got up to Higurashi. I haven't seen... Ozgo and Soto, are they the new ones? I haven't watched them. Well, if I really did make it to the championship, it would be a cinch. What's Satako's favourite 5th gen Pokemon? I have no clue. After all, I'd be a pitcher and a catcher. I'd pitch the ball, then run past the ball I just threw, and change over to being the catcher in a burst of super incredible explosive speed. Yes. I laughed dryly at the ludicrous image. Coming back to my senses, I smashed the bat against the ground. Damn it! What am I laughing at? I pounded the ground over and over again. With each impact, the reverberation travelling through the bat stung my hands. If they smile at me like that, I'll... Don't allow anyone close to me. Don't trust anyone. No matter how many times I tell myself that. If they smile at me like that, I'll... I already knew quite well that there were demons dwelling in my smiling friends, but I just couldn't believe it. Did that kind of split personality really exist? Like how Rena confessed to the doctor they were simply being possessed by Oyashiro-sama? In other words, did a supernatural being like Oyashiro-sama really exist? And was it possessing everyone and trying to kill me? Yeah. That would be wonderful. If only everyone were actually my friends all along and everything was just Oyashiro-sama's fault. You damn fool. Keiji Mayabata, come on now! I yelled out, drawing out all the power from the pit of my stomach, and raised the bat violently into the air. Stop being so soft! I screamed out with all my might. I beat the metal bat into the ground over and over again. With every impact, my weakness was being beaten down. Smash. Forget. Smash. Don't be soft. Smash. Know your enemy. Smash. Like hell, I'd let them kill me. My shoulders heaving up and down from my ragged breathing. I heard the first bell ring just as I calmed down. Yeah, I don't think that's how you... I think that's how you break a bat. I gasped with sudden realization. That was the final bell. Time skip! I felt all the tension drain from me and let out a deep breath. My mind was in a muddled state for much of the entire day. I didn't feel like I was awake, but I didn't feel like I was asleep either. Disassociation! I couldn't say it felt especially comfortable, but I felt a kind of relief that the sanctity of the school part of my daily life had yet to be violated. How long would I have to keep on living like this? I could only grit my teeth and bear with it as this living hell slowly gnawed away at me. Katie-kun! Come on! It's club time! Club time! The sound of Rena's voice brought me back to my senses. Come on, Kei-chan, stop spacing out. Bring your desk. Your desk! Everyone was moving their desks together as usual. That's right. It was happy fun club time. I had no intention of taking part. I haphazardly stuffed the contents of my desk into my bag and prepared to go home. It was a weak-handed gesture to avoid actually saying, I'll be going home now. What's this, Kei-chan? You planning on going home right away? Mion sounded quite disappointed. I'm just not in the mood. Could you let me be for a while? The tone of the words that spilled from my mouth matched Mion's disapproving glare. It felt like the air in the room had dried out. Satoko looked like she was about to say something, but perhaps dissuaded by the mood, she swallowed her words and stayed silent. Nobody said a thing. I took that to mean that I could leave if I wanted. But the collective gaze of the four of them, like tiny pins used to mount an insect in a display, held me in place. Mion will remember that. Yes, she will. Rena was the one who cut through the heavy mood. Keiji-kun, you just didn't like playing with girls, I guess. She said it in such a melodramatic tone that it sent a wave of panic racing through my heart. If this pain was going to kill me, I wanted it to be the soft part of me that could still feel pain. Still feel pain, yes. I tore at my chest violently, tearing out the pins that held me in place. That's not it at all! I'd only be hurting myself if I say anything more, so I swallowed my words. Cutting things off there, I turned away and exited the classroom. They didn't speak a word to me as I left. It was a long, dull trip back home, but I didn't lose focus. I firmly squeezed the grip of the bat, which was already soggy from sweat. Realizing that, I wiped it down with my sleeve. If something were to happen, I wouldn't want it to be slippery. My Keiji makes them cry. Perfect. Since this morning, I'd become especially sensitive to the presence of cars. Even while walking, my ears picked up and sought out threatening sounds and presences that could be closing in. And that was why I could hear it. Without a doubt, there were footsteps. The footsteps had matched up perfectly with mine for a while now. From what I could sense, it was just one person. But I'd no intention of being careless. Did they intend to follow me? Like that car this morning until we were in a good location to assault me? Then it wasn't a good idea to keep walking like this. I stopped walking and looked back. The wooden path, crowded with trees, responded with silence, as if there was nobody there to begin with. But I wouldn't be fooled. I was certain I heard footsteps were following me. And just as I stopped, the footsteps stopped as well. Maybe it was his own footsteps and he's just being extra paranoid! Meaning the person following me wanted to keep their distance. That was, without question, proof I was their target. At this point, I wouldn't be surprised if he swung his bat at his own shadow. I held my breath, waiting for that presence to panic, to start moving again. The trees rustled with the sound of the wind. The Higurashi also joined in the distant chorus, trying to throw my focus into disarray. Had 5 minutes passed? Or had I been like this for a whole 30 minutes? It was so hard to breathe, I might have suffocated. It seemed I would be the first one to panic. Without a doubt, he was lurking in the shade of that tree, with bated breath. Then I'd be the first to make a move. I fixed my grip on my bat. I raised it up to my shoulder, ready to swing it any time. Hey! I know you're there! With all of my might, I screamed at whoever was hiding in the shade of the trees. But the presence in the shade didn't budge. Until the moment I found them, They had no intention of revealing themselves. I know already! I know you're there! I screamed out angrily at them, but even still, they didn't move at all. It's almost like they're not there. Then I'll go over there myself. With all due diligence, I approached, step by step. Stepping into the tree's shadow, I saw a human figure there. That figure was curled up like a small animal. Look, there was one. Rena. When she realised I had found her, her expression softened. She seemed apologetic, but wasn't going to speak a word. Did you have some business with me? Pacing is crazy, that's for sure. I wouldn't escape that silence and screamed the question at her. Not really, Rena was in panic with tears welling up in her eyes. But it was obvious that she'd been following me. What about the club? Since you're not, I'm not. That shouldn't matter. Don't mind me and just play. But I'm worried about you. Thinking about how I've been acting up until now, it wasn't hard to imagine my behaviour could have been perceived as strange. So Rena was concerned? At a quick glance, that's how it would seem. But I wasn't going to let my guard down that easily. Even if that really was the case, she still wouldn't have something to do, something like, she really wouldn't have to do something like try tail me. The girls' club, go back to the club, not his club. She should have called out to me when I was leaving and gone right with me. But Rena didn't do that. She kept her distance from me and matched my walking speed. On top of that, she matched the sound of her footsteps and deviously tried to hide her presence from me. Then, after she realised I noticed she was there, she held her breath and tried hiding from me. She wore a timid expression that would force one to take pity on her, but without a doubt, she was tailing me. Stop following me. Aww. Still glaring at Rena, I continued walking onwards. After I'd walked for a bit, she ignored my command and began walking again. So I yelled at her once more. I told you not to follow me! But my house is in the same direction. Then walk ahead of me. I'll start walking once I can't see you anymore. I moved out of the way and waved my bat violently to urge her forward. I'd like to go home together with you. Making a pitiful expression, she meekly squeaked out the words in a voice that she knew would cut into my heart. That agitated me to no end. I knew it was a lie. If you wanted to go home together, then you should have called out to me. Now you're just blurting out random lies! I'm so sorry. It seemed that the seething anger within me was written all over my face. Even without me saying anything, Rena understood what I was feeling inside. If you get it, then go. I swung the bat, urging her to walk again. Rena looked back and forth between me and the bat and started walking hesitantly, then stopped again. Go on. Hurry! I'm going. So please stop at the bat. It's scary. Rena guarded herself while pointing at me holding the bat. She may have realised what I was planning on using this bat for. Bleh. I lowered the bat, but still guardedly opened the way for her. Go. There's no problem now, is there? There was nothing else she could do. There was nothing else she could protest. She passed by me timidly, as so not to set me off. As I watched her pass by, she stopped completely after having barely moved at all. Hey, don't stop! Then a powerful gust blew past us, barring my face with dust. The dust got into my eyes and clouded my vision. While rubbing my eyes with my left hand, I swung blindly with the bat in my right, protecting the small opening I had presented. But Rena didn't even try to attack during that opening. Attack me? No. She hadn't budged an inch. I could tell from the sound of her fluttering skirt in the wind. Oh yeah, Rena made some questionable decisions, I won't lie. But Keiji's definitely making more out of it than there needs to be. Because Keiji's got that paranoia. As her skirt settled, so did the silence. At that moment, the voice inside me immediately warned me of impending danger. I was caught by surprise. The smell of the air had changed. Without me realizing it, the air around me suddenly felt like a calamity was about to befall me. It was like the air had suddenly become invisible concrete, like Rena and I were locked in this space. Rena didn't move an inch. Also unable to move, I stared at her back. I'm expecting a jump scare? Rena was first to break the silence. Instantly, she altered her stance. I felt like I'd just witnessed her shift from Rena into that person who looked like Rena. But the voice was one I knew well. It filled me with a kind of bewildering pity. Carelessly, I felt relief upon hearing that pitiful voice. Excuse me, but, can I ask you something? Too shy to even turn around, Rena squeezed her voice out desperately as she trembled. What? Why do you have a bat? I wonder. The question Rena asked was by no means unexpected. I can carry whatever I want. But you didn't have one until today. Why so suddenly? It's alright if I decide to do something suddenly, isn't it? Is it strange that I have a bat? Because, Keiji, you're not the kind of person to play baseball. It's weird. I couldn't tell what kind of answer she was looking for, and I was getting tired of answering her. I just suddenly got the urge to play baseball. Is that so weird? It's weird! She answered instantly, and that annoyed me slightly. I just suddenly wanted to play baseball, and I wanted to practice my swing, so I'm carrying a bat around. What's so strange about that? Strange. Weird. Definitely. Why you too? Your ramblings are annoying me. Is it that strange for me to have an interest in sports? Yeah, definitely. Sports? Who would have an interest in that? I tried to sound a little bit more threatening to end the conversation. Until my suspicions about Rena were cleared, I had no obligation to answer her questions. I'm sorry. Don't get angry. Hi, folks. Rena still didn't turn around and spat out words of apology one after the next. Just one last thing. Tell me one last thing. I don't feel like talking anymore. Hurry up and go. I yelled loudly at her, causing her to flinch like she'd been struck. Seeing her in such a pathetic state caused my heart to ache sorely. But even though she was afraid, she stubbornly kept herself moving. Before I was able to threaten her again, Rena asked one final question. Why is even your bat the same? What did she mean by the bat was the same? I had no idea what she was talking about. What are you saying? I mean, why is even the bat the same? I don't understand what you mean at all. Speak English, Rena! Say it clearly. Even still, Rena didn't turn around. After inhaling deeply, she screamed. I mean, why is even the bat the same as Satoshi-kun? Satoshi? Being... Huh? Upon hearing that name out of the blue, I became dumbfounded for a brief moment. By Satoshi, did she mean the student who transferred out last year? No, that couldn't be. Rena tried to cover it up by saying he transferred, but Oshi-san told me quite clearly he was missing. He was a student who sat at my seat up until last year. He was believed to have been demoned away by Onyeshiro-sama's curse. I didn't know the details about the disappearance. The aunt he lived with was killed the night of Wataganashi by a drug addict, and not long after that he suddenly vanished and was now missing. That Satoshi and I were... what? My gaze fell to the bat in my hands. Could it be? Satoshi Hojo. It was a bit difficult to see what was written on the white tape at the end of the bat. I see. So this was Satoshi's bat. Oh. This was Satoshi's bat. Since nobody was using it, I borrowed it. That's not a problem, is it? That's not it. The way Rena said that, it made it seem like the bat was something that should never be touched. It was like some sort of offering at a shrine, or memento of the deceased. I could only stand there, perplexed and unable to respond. Rena continued, speaking without waiting for a reply. Why is it? Why is it? You're doing the exact same thing Satoshi-kun did when it happened to him! Rena was talking about more than just the bat belonging to Satoshi. It was the same with Satoshi-kun. He joined a baseball team, but he didn't really like baseball. What does that have to do with me? Satoshi-kun also suddenly started walking around with a bat one day. He joined a team, but he wasn't the type to play sports. What about it? I closed my eyes before I could say that out loud. Listen carefully, Keiji. Rena's trying to tell us something important. Satoshi-kun also one day came to school all by himself all of a sudden. Just like Keiji-kun. And then one day, he suddenly started practicing his swing. Just like Keiji-kun. Then one day, he suddenly began carrying the bat around with him. Just like Keiji-kun. Then one day, he suddenly... What? Rena had swallowed her words. Rena's sudden silence brought a hush back to the surrounding area. It was then that I could finally digest the content of the entire conversation. She was saying my chain of actions was exactly the same as Satoshi's. What was the meaning of this? Up until now, I'd forgotten all about Satoshi. I never paid much thought to him in the first place. Not only that, I didn't even know anything of what he'd done. My actions today should have been my own creation, after all the planning I'd done, but they'd been exactly the same as Satoshi's? Then, Satoshi, no. More importantly, if both Satoshi and I acted the same, then there was a really good possibility that what happened after would be the same. Rena, that day, what happened to Satoshi? Rena knew. She knew what became of Satoshi. No. Forget about what happened to the guy in the past. Rena knew what was going to happen to me. Answer me, Rena! Satoshi, what happened to him? With that, I grabbed Rena's shoulder violently and forcibly turned her around to face me. As I faced her, I felt a jolt run through my entire body. You gotta go, Void. Well, thank you for coming. I appreciate it. I hope you enjoyed. Have a good day. Are you prepared for a potential jump scare, everyone? There it is. I told you, Keiji-kun. It was that person that I didn't know. At least, it definitely wasn't Rena Ryugu that I'd been talking to up until now. The voice just now didn't have a trace of the trembling or emotion that it had before. The amount of regret I felt for turning her around was so carelessly was unsurpassed. That gaze pierced like a cold needle, the smile on her face that invoked an image of having been carved out by a knife. Chills went down my spine. My mind froze under a layer of rime. Both Rena's eyes pierced through mine, leaving me unable to look away. As if to remind me of the fear from that time before, Rena brought her face close to mine, so close I could feel her breath. Her face had filled my entire vision. Gaze. Is that what I'm saying? Gaze? Gaze. I don't know. I'm just talking normally as far as I can tell. Gaze. How would I say it otherwise? Gaze. Guys. Gaze. Gaze. And then, her sharp-shaped lips grew sharper. Like the curve of a crescent moon, she grinned. I told you, Keiji-kun. After a short pause, Rena repeated the words again. Satoshi-kun, you see? Transferred out. Transferred meaning what? What Rena meant must have been some new definition of transfer that I was not previously aware of. My throat and lips dried up. I couldn't even acknowledge what I just heard. All I could do was swallow my own saliva. It would seem that Rena saw that as a nod. She pulled her gaze back and spryly stepped back 2 or 3 paces. As she did, my legs gave out and I fell to my knees pathetically. Rena and me on my knees underneath her emotionless smile. It had to be a very odd sight indeed. Seeing me in that pathetic state, she neither scoffed at me nor held out her hand. But I could neither stand nor escape her gaze shooting through my eyes. There was, undoubtedly, a metal bat in my hand, but right now it was useless to me. It was like a fly caught in her web. Heavy sweat beaded all over my body. I could feel it dripping from my skin.
But you won't, will you, Keiji-kun?
Rena finally released me from that cage of time after what felt like an eternity. But her question was missing something important and was incredibly vague. Once again, I swallowed hard, urging her on. Do what? What did she not want me to do?
Transfer.
I think I'm gonna transfer. Is she saying don't run? Battle scene incoming. There is a battle scene in Higurashi, if I remember correctly. And it is rather dramatic. But I don't think it will be in this I'd have to go find the other chapters first. Satoshi and I had what? All my well-planned actions thought out throughout the day turned out to be nothing more than a reenactment of what Satoshi had done. Satoshi... had he really been in the same situation I was now? The friends he had gotten along with had changed suddenly, and for no reason, at least none that I'd noticed, planned to kill him. Then, fearing for his life, as I am now, he got a bat to protect himself and carried it around every day to practice his swing. Then one day, suddenly, he transferred. My blood went cold, causing a prickling sensation to course through my veins. Starting near my heart, it radiated outwards from the top of my head to the soles of my feet, chilling every part of me without recourse. What did she mean by transfer? What did she mean by transfer? Was Satoshi still at wherever he transferred to? Was he the only one who was able to... Was he the only one who would be able to understand me? Would he be able to tell me why it all ended up like this? More importantly, where did he transfer to? What did she mean by transfer? What did she mean by transfer? Before I knew it, I was at my front door. The frigid knob was hard to turn. Was nobody home? It wasn't an odd occurrence. I reached into my pocket and pulled out the single key attached to my fur seal keychain. Transferred to an easy carry around, potentially. I don't think Satoshi did anything wrong, really. He just existed. I stepped into the entranceway just as I was about to take off my shoes. A chill ran down my spine. Someone had entered right behind me. Like a classmate messing around, standing right up against my back. You're kidding, right? It had to be my imagination. Logically speaking, it was impossible for someone to be able to hide their presence within my personal space all the way through the door. There was undoubtedly someone behind me. Hey now, Keiji. How do you know they're there, even though they're right behind you? Because I could hear the sound of flowing hair. There's no other reason I'd hear that sound.
That isn't a sound. It's not a sound. Can you hear that? No.
That was the presence. Because I could hear the sound of them blinking. That is not a sound either, Keiji. Keiji Mayabata, there's no way you could hear that! There isn't! I feel like I'm extra loud today. I'm just going to turn myself down. It's hot sec. There you go. My most base instincts were warning me of the presence. Common sense was telling me that it was just my imagination. It was just my imagination. There was no one behind me. I began to erase the mental image of an eerie figure standing behind me. But all the same, I asked myself, if there was nobody, then what was I feeling? As an uncomfortable sensation crawled up my spine. Actually, wouldn't it be better if there was someone there? If there was nobody there when you turned around, would you be able to accept that? I'd be able to answer all those questions by just looking behind me. But I didn't have enough courage to do even that simple task. Alright, I should try speaking to them. The person behind me might answer me. It was a random thought. I didn't care how I went about it, just so long as I didn't have to turn around. If I calmed down and thought about it, I would have known that wouldn't have solved anything. Who is it? I spoke in such a hoarse and broken voice that I couldn't believe it was my own. I could almost feel them contemplating their response. I felt it. There was no way I should be able to do that. Calm down, Keiji. It's all in your head. Or is it? That time, I was certain I heard it. As if hesitantly trying to answer my inquiry. A certain sound. I was certain I could hear the sound of someone inhaling. I heard it. I heard it. I heard it clearly. It was a girl. A young girl. I didn't know who, but a tiny speck of courage in me. However reckless it was, inspired by a primal, yet fitting solution to this current predicament. A scream. All the force in my body released from my lungs and through my throat, ceasing all through processes in my head. Suppressing all my thoughts and emotions, I began to collapse, like a house of cards, somehow managing to twist my body to look back as I did so. It was definitely there. Right there. Somebody was there. Until the moment I turned around, until I brought the area behind me into my field of vision, they were definitely there! Falling face up, my eyes traced the remnants of the presence suspended in empty space. It couldn't be. They were invisible. They looked like they weren't there, but were actually still standing there? As I screamed, all of the emotions I was holding back burst free in a violent wave. However, I was decidedly calm as my emotional dam collapsed. The turbulent wave of pent-up emotions was skillfully diverted into a torrent of aggression. That emotion was definitely required to extricate myself from the bizarre situation happening right in front of me. In my state of heightened lucidity, I entrusted my body to the fury. The metal bat in my right hand, as if drawn there by a magnet. A mid-level sweep would be the hardest attack to dodge. I remember reading something about that from a book about swordsmanship or something. Ah! I brandished my will to fight. The after-image of that amalgamation of metal flashed as it swung from my left to right, beating against the entryway. There are a lot of horror stories about people being harassed by lollies. And they're all pretty scary. The bat slammed right into the wall, the tip rebounding violently. Very calmly, I transferred the force of the rebound into a sweep to the left. The door of the shoe cupboard was split into pieces. The two swings whiffed through empty space, but they seemed to have a great psychological impact on the enemy. I could feel the panic emanating from that space. The attack wasn't the only thing required. I extracted the bat from the cupboard it was embedded in and screamed as I spun my entire body around in a large arc. Ah! My screams shook the air, imbuing my ferocious swing with even more destructive power. Crack! Without mercy or restraint, my violent strike, with certainly fatal force behind it, shattered on top of the cupboard. None of my attacks struck the enemy, but my ferocity had certainly seemed to impact them. Breathing heavily, my entire body soaked in sweat, the invisible enemy, there but not there, dispersed. When I was certain that the enemy had retreated, I locked the front door and latched the chain. No way had it only feigned retreat. No way had it only feigned retreat and was now inside the house? Once again I channeled my aggression and searched the house for the presence. But it was gone. Yeah, no, he broke the cupboard. His parents are going to get him now. He's great against his own made-up enemies, but if it's a real cute girl, then all his energy disappears. And honestly, if that ain't relatable. I had succeeded in fending it off. At that moment, the tension drained from my body and I let out a deep sigh of relief. All out the emotions I'd been holding back chaotically emerged together and began to flood out. A hodgepodge of fear, accomplishment, and disbelief all mixed together and began to flow through my body. Unable to deal with each individual feeling, I beat them all back with the strongest exhaustion. Even in this moment, I remained composed. After checking that all the doors throughout the house were locked, I went up to my room on the second floor and closed the curtains. I straightened my back and tilted my head a little. After clearing my mind of all my idle thoughts, I managed to calm even more. How many chat messages do I have to read before it counts as a book? It'll never count as a book. Never. It doesn't have a plot. How could it be a book? What was that in front of the door? There was definitely something there. Thinking about it, maybe it was just an apparition I dreamed up in my confused state, but I didn't think that was the case. Calm down, Keiji Maebara. Compose yourself. No matter how calmly I thought about it, what just happened wasn't a figment of my imagination. Yes, it probably was, sweetie. You need a therapist. It was obviously a supernatural phenomenon, and without a doubt, something was behind me. Yeah, the most incoherent book ever, YouTube and Twitch chat. Yeah, you can't keep track of the plot. A lot of people do not type it with love either, which is one of my categories of a book. It does not establish any extra world building most of the time. So yeah, chat messages and Discord messages don't really count as books. It wasn't some sort of illusion I saw amidst my confusion and disorientation. Proof? I had just one piece. When I asked who is it, they inhaled as if they were about to answer. That sound had clearly reached my ears. The situation I was in right now was still unclear. Either I'd been possessed by the supernatural phenomenon known as Onishiro-sama's curse, or this was a ruse by the villagers, who believed in it and were imitating it. Either way, the motives were unclear. The roundabout way it had been done was also a mystery. No, there's definitely world building as way from all of that's true. That's true. I'll give you that one. There's world building in the chat. Sometimes it's not. And it's too hard to pick out the world building ones from the non-world building ones. If it was perpetrated by humans, that would mean admitting it was Renna and the rest of them doing it. But it would be solvable. Oshi-san said the rest of the police would surely arrest my enemy. But if it was a manifestation of Oyashiro-sama's curse, I wondered what would happen. Oshi-san very clearly declared that the curse didn't exist. There was once a house in the woods, then it burned down. World building complete. I mean, yeah, that's technically a plot. You got a beginning and a middle and an end. At the same time, those words were dependable. But as things were now, with the rising possibility that the perpetrators were not human, he suddenly seemed quite unreliable. If I told Aoshi-san this was the work of Onishiro-sama's curse, what would happen? I couldn't imagine his reaction, but it would go without question that a void would rapidly expand between myself and Oishi-san. With me having so few allies to begin with and not being able to confidently declare whether or not this was a curse, there was no merit in doing that. I'd better keep the facts of what happened at the doorway to myself. It would be better if I didn't add what happened here to the memo I left behind the clock. There was still the ever so slight possibility that I was actually confused when I thought I was composed, and I was just going berserk at the entryway. Yes, you were, sweetie. That's what you were doing. How wonderful would that be? If that was really what happened. That's really what happened, sweetie! I would be able to refute Oyashiro-sama's curse. But if I denied Onishiro-sama's curse, then that would mean admitting that Renna and the rest were the perpetrators. If I said that Renna and the rest were the perpetrators, then that would mean believing in Oyashiro-sama's curse. By denying both of those, I would be admitting that I myself was losing it. The three options from which I could choose became a trilemma of sorts. They mixed together and formed a whirlpool in my mind, making my head spin. It's kind of my thing. I call a lot of people sweetie. Once again, I straightened myself and leaned my head back slightly to cool myself down. Calm down, Keiji. Accept what has actually happened as reality. Stop thinking of anything more than that. But I couldn't help but think of it. How wonderful would it be if it turned out I was delirious and everything up until now was a figment of my imagination? Yeah, it would be, wouldn't it? Oyashiro-sama's curse wouldn't exist. I would still be best buddies with Renna and the rest. I would have to be crazy. That was the first time in my life I ever wished for such a thing. It's almost as if you're right, though, sweetie. It's the phone. The phone rang noisily downstairs. Generally, there were no calls from me, so I never really answered the phone much. But since my parents weren't here, I had no choice. I squirmed off the bed and went downstairs. Hello, this is Mayabara residence. Keiji, this is Mum.
intuitively had a bad feeling about this. It was because I thought she was going to ask me to go out and buy things. So I took the initiative. What? I don't mind having instant noodles for dinner. There's still a lot of them. The other day we went out as a family and brought a whole case of cup noodles. I wanted to get a bunch of different kinds actually, but they refused since individual packs are expensive. So instead, I got a whole case of mega-sized pork bone and ginger flavoured ones that I liked. They sound pretty good. But my parents don't like strong flavours and didn't touch any of them, so the cupboards are still full of them. So you see, there isn't really any need to go out shopping, right? KG, I'm not asking you to go shopping. Both Mummy and Daddy have to go to Tokyo right now because of work. Huh? Right now? This really was abrupt. No, we're already there. We left this afternoon. We just didn't bother to tell you until now. We didn't even leave a note. It's quite a distance to Tokyo from Hinamizawa. Gunning it full speed down the highway would still take 6 hours. Dad had a license, but since he didn't like the highway, they likely took the train. It would have taken longer. Pork bone. So like a pork stock broth kind of thing. I'm thinking you might understand since you heard us speaking last night, but it has to do with Daddy's contract. Right now, things aren't going smoothly. Now that she mentioned it, I did remember that they talked about that all the time, about his job prospects weren't looking good. Daddy is really sensitive about things like this, so if we leave things as they are, it will affect his work. Part of my father's particular fragile autistic personality, his emotions change as easily as the full sky. You could also say he couldn't take criticism. Mood. Clearly his parents are in on the murder plot. Exactly! So his parents were safe the whole time. They're like, oh, we need to go so our child can get murdered. Bye now! Have a good murder! But something like that can be done over the phone. KG, this is your father's job, so can you support him a bit, please? Anyway, it's just faster to talk about it in person, so there wouldn't be any misunderstandings. What about the Ed Sheeran in the instant? That took me a moment. I was like, wait, oh yeah, Ginger. I'm smart. As their son, there was nothing more I could say once they started talking about work. So we'll be back tomorrow night. KG, will you be fine on your own? It's not like I'll die or anything. Maybe. KG, you shouldn't speak so lightly of dying. If there's something troubling of you, you can talk to us. Believe Mummy will be able to help you out. Yesterday I did bring up if I died rather abruptly, so I suppose they were a little worried. But really, I was more depressed by the fact that nothing would be solved by telling them. Sorry, son, I want to have a daughter. There you go. But I didn't plan on dying. At least not while I still knew nothing. I'll never allow it. I won't die. I won't. I'll survive even after gnaw my own leg off. Yeah, and see you then tomorrow morning. Make sure you wake up and eat your breakfast. And don't forget to take a bath and brush your teeth. Yeah, see you. The call ended like that. Sometimes my parents went off to Tokyo for business meetings. But Tokyo was so far away. They normally did things by phone. The times they did go were normally planned out in advance. It never happened this suddenly. I couldn't say that those circumstances didn't feel strange or rather unusual. Anyway, I only needed to recognise the reality of the situation. That tonight, I was the only one in the house. That when my parents came back from work, I'd be gone. Missing. Vanished. Looking back on the series of events of the previous 5 years involving Anya Shirosama's curse, it wouldn't seem strange at all. Come to think of it, it was getting pretty late. I didn't think it was good that the only light on in the whole house, was from my room on the second floor. It was the same as broadcasting to the enemy that my parents were gone, and this was their chance. First, I ran to the living room and flicked on the lights and turned the TV on to a reassuring volume. And this is where the screen freezes and the true crime video saying this was the last time KG heard his parents again. Next was the study. I'd similarly turned on the lights and some music. With this, from the outside, it would look like my parents were here. Once again, I went through the house, checking to see if there was anything left unlocked. When I saw the veranda and the laundry still hanging out there, I went pale. That would have made it too obvious. Ugh, I need to take it down. I snatched the laundry haphazardly, erasing all traces of my mother was there. Should be fine now. Ah! The garage! They hadn't gone all the way to Tokyo by car, but they had gone up to Okinomiya Station. The garage was empty, wide open and in plain sight. That wasn't good. I panicked and rushed out to close the normally open garage door. It should be fine now. I need to get the paper. Mum always got the paper. Since they left in the afternoon, the evening paper was still out there. My premonition was correct. I pulled out everything from the mailbox and dropped it in the entryway. For sure this time, it should be fine. Come to think of it, leaving the cupboard busted like that from my little freakout was kind of bad. I'll just say I tripped and fell and the bat I was holding smashed into it. Even so, just leaving it in its current state wasn't good. I should clean it up a little before Mum gets back and scolds me. I remembered that there was a broom and dustpan in the closet. I was going to get them. The phone rang once again. I mean, it is. You should all point at me. You should all click me. But mostly click the subscribe button. Hello, this is the Mayabara residence.
Oh, is this Keiju-kun? Is your mother around?
She isn't here at the moment. Oh, you fucking idiot, Keiji Mayabara. You could point and laugh. Ha 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 ha! She's so weird! Point and laugh! Look at this strange internet person who is reading things. Yeah, it's so strange. Witch Browning, where did you come from? Go away. Don't reveal that your parents are gone! You can follow up still. Calm down. And take care of it. I think she'll be back soon. That wasn't a good response either. Now they might say I'll call again later or tell her to call in when she comes back.
Then that's fine. It wasn't anything important. Well, sorry for the bother.
The scenario I feared didn't play out, inciting some relief. It's attached to my belt. Easy. And obviously I got a hairband for the horns, obviously. That call was unfortunate, in more ways than one. I'd have to deal with any telephone calls coming from my parents tonight. I was somehow able to deal with the phone call just now, but I couldn't continue to rely on such poor improvisation. I needed to make up a good story to explain that my parents were home but couldn't answer the phone at the moment. They were making tempura and couldn't step away right now? That wasn't good enough. They were sick and went to bed because they weren't feeling well? Was that going to be safe enough? I was thinking about it on the way back to my room when the phone rang once again. It's like they were calling because they knew I was going to lie. I didn't want to pick up, but I knew I had to. They'd suspect my parents weren't here. I should have just taken the phone off the hook under the pretense I didn't realize it was. But since the phone rang, I had to pick it up. I prepared myself and lifted the receiver. Hello? I stopped announcing that this was the Mayabara residence. I had no reason to be kind to someone who I didn't know the identity of. But unlike my uncouth voice, the person on the other side sounded goofy and light-hearted. Hello! My apologies for calling so late. This is Oshi-san from Okinama Bookstore. Oshi-san! Is that you, Mayabara-san? Good evening! Good to hear you're doing well. Wait, just a moment, please. I grabbed the portable handset and rushed up to my room with it. It was the same no matter where I was, since there was no one else home, but I wanted to be in a spot that just felt a bit safer when speaking on the phone with Oshi-san. It's because they're trying to make sure that he's alone so they can murder him! Sorry for the wait. How are things? Anything changed since then? Since then? When was that exactly? There was something about the brazen way he talked that rubbed me the wrong way. The last time I spoke to Oshi-san was 2 days ago? The day I stayed home from school, I met Oshi-san on the way back from the hospital, and we headed to town for lunch and had a talk. Then, after that, Rion and Mion came to Rion and Mion! Renna and Mion came to check up on me. Whenever I spoke with Oshi-san, they always knew about it. It was like that since I first met him. Today's phone call may well be found out by them as well. Hello? Can you hear me, Mayabara-san? Huh? Oh, sorry. What did you say? I asked if anything has changed since last time. There wasn't an answer, so I got a bit worried. Not really. The words stopped in my throat. There was a ton of stuff that happened. All of it baffling. What should I talk about? I didn't understand any of it, but I should try asking. If I didn't ask now, I may never have another chance. This night, when my parents went home, I had no guarantees I would make it through the night safely, after all. Well, Oshi-san, it seems that someone's after me. Really? It could just all be a coincidence, but I missed school when I was sick. The two of them came up to check on me. Which two? Renna and Mion. They started asking about how I had lunch with you. What next? They left me some mochi when they came to visit, but there was a needle inside. Fortunately, somehow I didn't swallow it. I wonder, could that have been a threat? About the needle. It was just one of those common sewing needles you see all the time. There was a hole to thread the string through. Not that, Mayabara, the needle itself. That's evidence. It could be used as proof that they threatened you. Where is the needle? That's right. That's it! I dropped the receiver and rushed downstairs. When I tossed the mochi, I'd overlooked it out of terror, but that needle was a valuable piece of evidence.
Let's see, I threw the mochi and needle at the wall together. If it was there, then it would be on the living room wall. And by living room, I mean kitchen. But my prudent mother had cleaned the living room wall, and there was not a trace of mochi left on it. Could it be that it dropped in the gap between the wall and the carpet? I frantically searched, running my palm along the carpet, but nothing turned up. I tried moving around the sofa and desks, pulling up the carpet, and then flapping it around, but I couldn't find the needle. Did my mum clean up everything without noticing it? It was just 2 days ago. I didn't know what day they collected the burnable trash, but it may still be in the trash bin next to the kitchen. I rushed to the kitchen and opened up the lid of the pail and poured out the contents. But even at a glance, I could tell it would be incredibly difficult to find the needle in a pile of trash. I was looking for the needle in a trash sack. I know. I'll try running my hand through it. It was a bit gross, but I was looking for a needle. If I felt a small prick, I'd be able to find it. It was a pretty tactless method, but it was the quickest. I held my breath and started striking the pile with my hand. Ugh, KG, this is awful. I'd be more shocked if it was still on the wall. Ah yes, food chucked at the wall, let's not clean it up. Exactly. The fact that KG thought it might have been on the wall is a bit dumb. Ah yes, 2 days old mochi. Tasty. I continued for a while, but nothing turned up. I wanted to search more thoroughly, but I was still on the phone. I shouldn't keep Oshi-san waiting too long. Later, when Mum got back, I'd have to ask her if there was a needle. Hastily, I began scribbling on the notepad affixed to the refrigerator magnet. Was there a needle? I scrawled the words with a red pen, then dashed back up the stairs where I kept Oshi-san waiting for far too long. Hello? How did it go? I couldn't find it. I was really overwhelmed when it happened, and I see. It'd be great if you could find it. Keep it safe. That's right. The needle wasn't the only incident. I had to tell him about this morning with the hit and run. Also, Oshi-san, that isn't all. Actually, this morning, that van was definitely aiming for me. I could say that without question due to the circumstances at the time. Yeah, I don't think it could either, but I think Oshi-san is also grasping at straws when it comes to this case, so I think he's desperate for anything. Did you see the license plate? I can search for it from here. Damn! At the time I just flipped out yelling at him. I didn't look at the plate. What failures on my part with the needle and the number plate. I was so focused on protecting myself that I let some of the most important details slip out of my grasp. Yeah, they're both incredibly desperate. I punched my pillow, annoyed at how worthless I was. I'm sorry. I didn't know much more than it was a white van. Nothing to fret about, Mayabata-san. Anyone would be shaken up after nearly being hit. I guess. All of this is really... It's a coincidence, isn't it? Oshi-san started to hem and haw over the other end. I could imagine him folding his arms. Also, Rena is acting strange. How so? What Rena said on the way home today. I'm confused how he didn't even think about calling the police when he almost saw... He didn't think about calling the police when he almost saw the needle. He didn't think about calling the police when he was nearly ran over. He is already in Crazy Town. There is no logic behind this boy. What Rena said on the way home today, asking why I was so much like Satoshi-san, now I could say it with confidence. Rena knew what happened to Satoshi. She knew that there was more than just him simply disappearing. Rena knows. She knows something regarding what happened to Satoshi, the kid who was demoned away last year. Crazy Town, more like Lazy Town. Why not both? What would that be exactly?
Rena said I was the same as Satoshi. She said something to the effect that the way things are going, I'll end up with the same fate as Satoshi.
Fate, you say? Exactly what kind of fate did she say would befall you?
Transferring out, she said.
Transferring out?
Rena said Satoshi transferred out. So given how things are going with me, I'll transfer out too. Hoshi-san let out a stern sigh, then grumbled loudly.
Mayabara-san, that was probably some sort of threat. Or maybe some type of warning.
I thought so too. At that point, I started to think, would it be prudent to sum up everything that had happened until now as the machinations of some human perpetrator? Other than the theory of Rena and the others, I was left with Onishiro-sama's curse actually existing as the only explanation. Of course, I couldn't tell that to Oshi-san. Except Rena's strange behaviour could be proof of either scenarios. Whether it was Onishiro-sama's curse being real or everything being a part of a conspiracy committed by the villagers. Rena was involved. Rena had to know something. Rena was suspicious. What exactly was Rena? I couldn't help but think she was somehow involved with the prior string of mysterious deaths. She seemed to recall that Oshi-san had admitted that he dug into Rena's past a little. He was probably downplaying it a little when he said a little, meaning he had actually dug pretty deep most likely. I wanted to hear about Rena. I wanted to know what happened at her previous school, among other things that was still unknown to me. Yeah, he was too busy thinking about his current plans than what would actually be good in the present. He was too caught up in the future. If Rena was somebody I should suspect or not, then I wanted to know the truth. Tonight I was alone in this huge house. Even though I said I couldn't count on them, I had lost the security I felt I had just by my parents being around. It wasn't like this house was some sort of fortress or castle. If a malicious person decided to brute force, they'd easily gain entry. There was no other residence close to the Mayabara residence. No one would be able to hear anything, no matter how loud it was. I never felt so much resentment towards my father's artistic temperament, and the fact that he had this house built in such a remote location as I did right now. I wondered if I would still be here tomorrow morning, so I had to ask, right now, because I had no idea when the next chance would come. Oshi-san, I have something I want to ask about. Please don't keep anything from me. Ask away. Ignoring the ding-dong! Yeah, basically, he's thinking about the potential dangers rather than proving he's actually in danger, because he's so convinced he's in danger, he doesn't need proof. Honestly, yeah, just having white van as a description. In a place where roads aren't built for vans, it would be a thing to have just that description. I wanted to ask about Rena, about what happened in her previous school. Actually, it's regarding Rena's... I noticed a sound that had been going for a while now. Since I was so focused on the call, I hadn't paid attention at first, but I finally realised it was the doorbell. The time was 7 o'clock. It was past the time the postman would be making a delivery, and past any sensible time for a neighbour to be visiting. I considered acting like nobody was home, but that wouldn't be good. That would ruin all the work I put into making it look like my parents were home. I needed to answer the door. Hello, Mayabara-san? Sorry, someone seems to be at the door. I'm gonna go see who it is. A guest? I see, my apologies. We should end the phone call now. That would be a problem. No, I'll be back in a second. Do you mind if we just leave the phone on? It's fine, I don't mind. I dropped the handset on my bed and dashed down to the door. I needed to make up a good excuse to get them to leave. I had a hunch it was the lady who called right before Oshi-san did, in which case would be one of the neighbours who's friends with my mum. I'll just say Mum isn't feeling very well and went to bed early. That would be the easiest option. And it's not. It'd be hard for her to ask me to wake her up if she's not feeling well. The bell continued to ring at regular intervals. If someone didn't answer after you rang the bell so much, normally you'd give up and go home, wouldn't you? Without removing the chain, I opened the door slightly and peered out at the visitor. A chill ran down my spine. I knew it. Somewhere deep inside, I had prepared for this moment. I had tried to escape by imagining it was the easiest person to deal with, one of my mum's friends. Good evening. Renna. There shouldn't be any reason for Renna to come over at this hour. The timing also made me feel uneasy, because it was just as I was about to ask Oshi-san about Renna. I wish I could have chalked this up to mere coincidence, but those unsettling words from Mion several days ago echoed back at me. There's nothing. This old man doesn't know. Are you alone, Renna? Yeah. It seems that Mion wasn't with her, but that didn't change the situation. Yes, phone lines could be tapped, who knows? Why did you come here? Hey, Keiji-kun. I'd like you to open the door so we can talk. Can I come inside? I wonder. It was true that speaking through a chained door wasn't the right way to talk to a classmate, but at my house the chain has to be on at night. Don't worry about it. Then it can't be helped, I guess. Renna looked at the ground sadly, but she kept smiling, and her effort to keep that smile up was quite pitiful. Even though she was tugging at my heartstrings, I didn't lower my guard. As long as I stayed like this, even if it made my heart ache, my life wasn't in danger. What I really feared, more than the possibility that hoodlums would assault me if I removed the chain, was trusting Renna enough to remove the chain and having my friendship betrayed. As long as the chain wasn't unlatched, even if it made my heart ache, I wouldn't have to deal with being betrayed by Renna. Since it didn't seem like I'd removed the chain from her silent urging, she appeared to give up on trying to get in the entranceway. Have you eaten yet, Keiji-kun? No, I haven't eaten. Since my mum wasn't there, dinner wouldn't be ready no matter how long I waited. I lay down when I got home, was woken by the phone, and didn't have a chance to eat since I used up all that time. I was going to have cup noodles in any case. I could just eat one whenever I wanted to. No, not yet. What about that? That's good. You probably should have said yes that you've eaten, you dumbass. This is Renna. Of course she has food for you. Look here. I brought a bunch of dishes. Renna held out a stack of boxes wrapped in cloth. If I could use your kitchen, I can heat up the miso soup and other stuff. It's fine, you don't need to do that. But there's a lot of tofu and vegetables in it. Does Keiji-kun not like that kind of stuff? I wonder? There's no way I wouldn't like that. I love miso soup with a lot of ingredients. White radish, carrots, burdock root potatoes, dense and fibrous root vegetables. That miso soup looks incredible. I also brought rice, so if you microwave it, it'll be ready to eat in no time. Without a doubt, rice needs miso soup. stuffing rice down your gullet, sipping miso soup between ravenous bites. Ah, yes, how wonderful it is to be born Japanese. Also, I made some pickles. I made some Sansai pickles this time. Before I'd moved here to Hinamizuwa, I scoffed at the mountain vegetables called Sansai. Yeah. But it's very tempting food, though. But I was captivated by their charm the first time I tried them. Such deep yet light flavour. These so-called supermarket vegetables tasted rough and overpowering in comparison. If you had to describe them, they were the vegetables for the untainted. Uninitiated, even. To become an expert such as myself, you first need to partake in Sansai. It was common knowledge around here that the Ryugu family's traditional pickles were wonderfully delicious. No matter what kind of pickles they were, they'd go well with that fluffy white rice. And also, but there's more. So delicious. It just seems so delicious. Farewell to my unhealthy self, who said he'd make do with cup noodles. Renna appeared to be in good spirits, and she was offering such a delicious sounding dinner. What's that saying about a way to a man's heart? Because he really likes Renna. I think half the reason he's going so insane is because he doesn't want to doubt Renna. He loves Renna so much. And he just doesn't want to see that bad side. He loves her so much that any bad side he sees, he calls another Renna. That's how much he loves this girl. He is head over heels for this girl. The stress evaporated from my gut and hunger reared its voracious head. At the same time, my wariness of Renna suddenly dwindled. Biggest simp. It's simp. He's just... The braid in his pants is taking over. That is what's happening here. In his pants and in his stomach, really. They're both ganging up on him. Renna did say she was alone. It shouldn't be a problem letting her inside. Although the possibility that it was laced with poison still hadn't been ruled out. At that moment, a cold chill ran down my spine once more. There we go! His brain kicked in. I can't understand why such a sensation had occurred just then. But then the voice inside me was sounding the alarm. This happy Renna, speaking of this charming dinner, was dependent on one premise. And that premise was that tonight, a dinner hadn't been made at my house. Meaning it was under the assumption that my mum, who should be making it, wasn't here. At any normal household, 7 o'clock would be the middle of dinner time. If my mum was here, we'd be eating around the dinner around this time as well. The fact that she brought over all the makings of a meal at this time was inherently strange. Yeah, Oshi-san's just fucking sitting there this entire time. But I would like to say, if there was a rational answer to this, it would be that Keiji's mum told Renna this morning that she was going and to bring round food. And that's why she didn't bother Keiji about the cup noodles or going shopping, because she knew Renna was going to come round with food. Unless she knew. Renna, did she know that my parents weren't home? She did. But there was also a chance this was a bluff. I had turned the lights and a bunch of other stuff to make it seem like my parents were here. There was a chance Renna was unsure if my parents were home. But I had to wonder. The laundry, the garage, the evening paper. There were plenty of signs of them being hastily tidied up. It was hard to say that Renna didn't have a chance to determine if my parents were home or not. But there was no reason for me to confess that right now. I should try holding on to that fact as much as possible. First of all, The chain was still latched. As long as I didn't take it off, Rena wouldn't be able to do anything to me. I'm quite grateful, but dinner will be ready soon. Huh? Is that so? Is that so? I know you went through all this effort and everything, but, well, unable to think of a good way to refuse, my words trailed off weakly. But some of this could work as side dishes, I think. I'm sorry, we have more than enough already. My mum always makes quite a few side dishes, so... Huh? You have side dishes? With a smile that bordered on cringe, I dodged her question apologetically. But the feeling I tried to ignore began creeping up my back again. I spoke as if my mum was setting down dinner right now, but it didn't mesh well with what Rena was saying. Rena was asking as if she was aware of some obvious fact, and that I was aware of it as well. So Keiji-kun can cook! What did you make, I wonder? No, well, it's not that. Ren had assumed out of nowhere that I had made the dishes. No, not so much that I'd made them, but rather my mum hadn't. 'Cause she knows, you dumbass! She came round to find you this morning, but you had left early. So, she spoke to your mum, and then your mum told her. Did you really make them? The side dishes? Did you, Keiji-kun? It wasn't me who made them. My mum did. No, she's making them, right now. So you see, I'm sorry, but I can't eat what you brought. Rena fell silent that moment. And that moment, I felt the light had suddenly disappeared from her eyes. How about I try guessing what Keiji-kun's dinner will be? It doesn't matter what I'm going to eat. Let's see... The conversation might appear natural at first, but Rena was firmly in control. It felt like I was being interrogated. Your dinner. I wonder, is it something that can be made with hot water? Oh yeah, I kind of want to get to the end of the scene, so... Hey, now, stop with the insults. I can't believe you belittled my mum's extravagant dinner like that. Tickets sold out, full capacity ahead. It's nothing that amazing. I tried my best to put on a strong front, but I couldn't grip my teeth quite right. Yeah, I mean, we're a whole 1 minute over 2 hours, but it's fine. So instead, I looked like someone who was borderline hysterical. But Rena showed no reaction whatsoever, even to that silliness. Keiji-kun, did your mother really leave you dinner? No, you see, she didn't leave me dinner. She's making it right now. It's almost time for dinner. Rena had taken that assertion of mine, that my mother was home and making dinner right now, and completely ignoring it. I could tell that the more I panicked, the colder Rena became. That's true. There is always 5 minutes starting soon. I know. He keeps saying Rena's got the power, but he could just close the door. Close the door, Keiji. Hey, Keiji-kun. At that moment, an uncomfortable chill crept from the gap in the doorway. Is your mom home? I wonder. I couldn't keep up the charade anymore. Rena, she knew full well that my parents weren't home, but I'd come too far to admit it now. Anyway, my parents were here, and we were having dinner soon. That was the situation I concocted. So I answered. I told her she was here. She's here, of course. I could feel the humidity drying out from the surrounding air. Rena's eyes becoming even more frigid, perceiving me with their jellied glare. Why? Huh? What do you mean? I tried acting casual, but that facade, was torn off me the instant I looked into Rena's eyes. That look, it informed me of Rena's response faster than she could open her mouth. Why have you been lying to me? I wonder. I'm not lying. That's a lie, isn't it? It's not a lie. Lies! Rena's outburst sent a jolting surge through my body. Ren and I were still separated by a few inches. That slightly ajar jaw still changed. But despite that, I was still being cornered. You dumbass, just close the door! My house, which I'd considered a safe haven until now, had become more like a dark alley where no one could save me. Shall I guess your dinner, Keiji-kun? Let's see. I knew now that Rena had already known that my parents would not be here tonight. But it was still so strange that it had come to this. Yeah, because she knows you're fucking lying to her face. She brought round dinner for you because your mum requested it. And now she's pissed that you're lying to her and is genuinely probably quite confused. Even if she somehow knew that my parents went home, there was no way she would be able to guess what I'd be eating tonight. I mean, yes, she would. She knows you. She knows you! But Rena said she'd guess. How could she guess it? How could she know it was cup noodles? That's right, isn't it? That I was going to eat. Wait. The cooking repertoire of a man who can't do household work is probably nothing but cup noodles after all. Looking at this statistically, it was probably the answer. Yes, it was. Yes, it was, you dumbass. That didn't mean she was guessing. I don't think you'll be full with just noodles. I think having rice and stuff will definitely hit the spot. Calm down, Keiji Mayabara. This was just a coincidence. Rena was just reading certain tales of mine. So the fact that she was inferring what I was thinking alarmed me. But it wasn't as if she was actually reading my mind. If I was being read, then she was a demon. No, not a demon. Things like that, they couldn't possibly exist. Do you like them? Do you mean noodles? No. Rena indicated that the point my answer was addressing wrong. Her rebuttal was so short that I momentarily didn't understand the words Rena had spoken. Sorry, Rena, what did you say just now? Huh? About what? Just now you asked me if there was something I liked, didn't you? It wasn't long before I regretted how carelessly I pushed forward with that question. It was such a simple answer. That was why I wasn't able to comprehend it. Pork bone and ginger flavor. Now that's a little freaky knowing the flavor. And that's why we're going to end it for today. I can't think of a more wonderful time to end the stream. Thank you everyone for coming. Let's give that a save. Da-da-da. I hope you had some nice creep this Halloween from that. Thank you everyone in chat. Thank you to anyone who lurked. And thank you to anyone who watches the VOD if you have not already. Haha, the cliffhanger. The cliffhanger! You'll have to wait till next time! Nya, 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 nya. Yeah, if you haven't already, please leave a like and subscribe to my channel. That would be wonderful. I will be back on Sunday with Void's fanfic part 2. It'll be great. Witch Bryony will be reading that. New Luck will be reading that. And then we'll be scheduled for next week. I probably won't be talking too much on the Discord over the weekend. I plan to do a bit of chilling out. I'm a little tired, I'm not gonna lie. Other than that, if you'd like to support me in many ways, there is many links in the description to my Patreon, to my Kofi. I will be doing merch very soon. I'll be working on trying to get that out next week. Obviously, I will give like an actual timing on that or some point when I actually know. No, probably not Minecraft next week. Yeah, there's going to be a whole Minecraft week. I'll get some announcements on that next week as well. We'll start getting that planned out. But no Minecraft Monday next week as well. New Luck still needs to play Minecraft, so I need to do that. Not Minecraft, it's Bioshock. Yeah, those I will get some announcements and stuff out next week. I need a bit of reset time this weekend. So Saturday I will be chilling out, and then next weekend I'll get back on it. I'll try to be more organized. I promise. I'm sorry. I'm a hot mess. But anyway, again, thank you everyone for coming. Yeah, Witch Bryony's better. I prefer calling her Witch Bryony. I don't like giving her her real name. It's terrible. Yeah, I think that's it. Thank you everyone for coming. I had fun. I hope you had fun. This has been Bryony Westmith live from the Vin Library. Goodbye!